And welcome to episode 9 of the Rovertime podcast. I am Stan Konopka, sitting in for the illustrious Mark, who is out celebrating his birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Mark.
birthday, bro.
With me tonight, we have Dr. Manhattan.
How's it going?
We have Ryan. Say hi, Ryan.
Oh, hey. I didn't hear that, sorry.
We have...
Forgive him. He's from Canada, so he's a little slow.
We have Minding Freedom.
Surprise, motherfucker.
God damn it.
We have Lex.
Hi, everybody.
And Tobias.
Yeah, hello guys from Germany.
So, if you just noticed immediately, Minding Freedom has a new toy to play with. He has discovered a soundboard, so early apologies if we get way out of hand with the soundboard.
No, I'm restricting myself, okay?
No, you're
well,
not. That's a fucking lie. You know it.
He has discovered. See, there you go. You said you would give yourself a 3 limit for the podcast, and you've already used 2. So
No. That was unintentional. That was the
Sure
YouTube
it
sound.
was.
I didn't mute. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Hey, hit that fucking Maury Povich button that we know you got.
No.
So we're going to start off tonight with the big story, and that would be the shooting in Alexandria.
Yes.
Wednesday morning, a gunman, James Hodgkinson, took to opening fire on a Republican baseball practice game. On Thursday, they have an annual Republicans versus Democrats baseball game for charity, and they were practicing Wednesday morning, and this gentleman Hodgkinson decided to crash the party and open fire. No one other than Hodgkinson, gratefully, was killed. Steve Scalise has been upgraded, but he is still in the hospital, and there were 4 other people that were injured in the shooting as well. Obviously, the horror of this is evident, but the real discussion starts to come down to whose fault is it, other than the gunman's. A lot of people have been pointing to of course, to Trump's rhetoric, and then a lot of people have been pointing to the left's rhetoric. So I guess, what are our thoughts on this?
So I think it's important, that everyone remembers how much we had the inverse of this a lot of times under the Obama administration, where it seemed like every domestic shooting was, if it couldn't immediately be linked to terrorism, tried to be immediately linked to the right's rhetoric against Obama. And luckily we didn't have this under Bush, so I guess this is a relatively new thing. But you notice the cry for gun control has been very, very quiet this time, and mostly because it's really hard to make the argument that good guys with guns don't stop anything when it was a bunch of good guys with guns who literally stopped anything bad from happening, because it would have been a slaughtering ground if not for the security detail.
Right.
There's just no way around. I know the guy was a bad shot, but...
Yeah, but I disagree. The call for gun control was definitely there, and it was a bit less than usual, but I don't think it was much. I've read articles in many U.S. media, newspapers, and online editions of TV programs, CNN, and everywhere there was at least one article calling for more gun control, at least one opinion piece or something. The worst, I think, was the one in the New York Times by Charles M. Blow. I made a video on Friday about that. Bit of shilling here. You can find the link to all our YouTube and some Twitter accounts in the description below. And that one was disgusting.
So, but is it more? I don't know. My feeling on a lot of the articles I've read has been they are more copy and paste from, like, it's a pro forma article they've written for school shootings and they just modified it. Like somebody did a quick copy paste. Like that's how most of them felt.
That's the general arguments for the left anymore. Anyway, it's okay. Let's take this argument, change this line, and issue the same ending.
So that's my real question: is this that they have an agenda, or is it just that they are lazy? Is the media less leftist and more just lazy about their job, and that they get to recycle basically the same articles over and over?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a bit of both. I would say lazy because essentially they have no new arguments. Mm-hmm. They're falling back on the same stuff. It's falling on the same deaf ears. But I guess their hope is that, oh well, I mean, look at everything they do. You know, they're still doubling. They're still talking about Russia. I mean, so. They don't, you know, the quote, you know, those who learn from the past are doomed to repeat it, feels like their mantra. Like they don't look or hear anything that, well, we said that 2 weeks ago. This is different. They won't remember that. Mm-hmm. Well, they do. And the argument is always the same.
I mean, to be fair, their readership is so low at this point that they may actually be getting new readers with each of these repeated articles.
Good.
So I'll just be like, hey, didn't we read this before? And it's like, that's the trap. They're going to force you to go back and read more of their shit.
And I think one of the, you know, on this shooter, one of the interesting things was he was a Bernie supporter.
He was a Bernie blooper supporter.
And
not just a supporter, he volunteered for
he worked on his campaign.
He was really
and you know, I have to feel that, you know, that bit of information was what really toned down the left immediately.
Yeah.
Because if he was a Trump supporter, it would
they'd be all over this.
So, does anyone else?
Locust of Egypt.
Does anyone else agree that actually Donna Brazile and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton get vastly more blame for both the Portland stabbing and this shooter's, giving up on the system of change that they both tried to participate in and probably both felt cheated by, mostly because the Democratic Party screwed their own primaries.
Right.
Would that be in my mind, that is where I lay the secondary blame. Like, obviously the shooter takes all blame for his actions, and I would never say that somebody should be prosecuted for their tangential actions that may have led someone to this. But if we were going to try to assign blame, I think those three people.
I think we have to watch out for the wording here. I don't think blame is like the blame is with the shooter. We're talking about political responsibility.
Then yes, if we're talking political responsibility, then I'm with Lex on those three people. He did that because it was a crazy domino effect. Basically, is all I can think. Like, I don't know if this is going to be like a conclusion at some point, or not a conclusion, but you know, something that would happen down the road. Like, actual Bernie supporter or Hillary supporter would go out and try and fucking kill someone. But I think that's just a chain of events that would happen at some point.
See, and I think with people like this, I think it. I mean, I hate to link it this way, but you know, if this is what he went to, what, you know, no matter who was elected, he would be waiting for that last little bit to push him over the edge. It's like suicide bombers. Like, don't tell me that if not for Trump, who's been in office 6 months, so really you're telling me the last 6 months, which, let's be honest, from a policy standpoint, has been fairly benign. You know, nothing really that would say, you know, to be like, you know, he's putting people in internment camps. But so this guy clearly, and based on his Facebook groups, he just hated conservatives to begin with. So I don't, you know, I actually had asked the question last week when Blonde was on with Brittany Petnabone, do you think that with like Antifa, do you think if a different leader was in, it would change anything? And the answer was no. And I believe the same thing here. Might it have taken a little longer for him to do something like this? Maybe, if he had his guy in, but I don't think the leader would have changed. He clearly was a disturbed guy. Clearly has been building for a long time.
I don't know if I see him. I definitely don't put him in the same category as Antifa. I think there is.
No, I don't. I'm just saying that. My point was, I don't think a different leadership would have mattered. I think this guy would have gone down that path at some point eventually.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but I think that there's definitely a sense of hopelessness for especially the hardcore Bernie supporters, who literally saw a very possible path to victory for a very big thing that they believed could cause a change in momentum politically.
Yep.
And instead of seeing it beaten by, an aging voter base that, was going to go away anyways, which is definitely something you can make an argument about with Republicans, they saw it defeated by their own party that they have probably done a lot of support for and probably helped in the end.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of money that had been earmarked for Bernie was funneled into Hillary, so yeah, I mean, I can definitely see, that as a contributing factor, because I think Bernie would have done a lot better. I think he actually might have beaten Trump.
I don't think it would have actually mattered if he had. I think that it's easier for people to rationalize losing an election, which is totally justified. They can justify losing an election because, well, we'll come back and we'll win next time, with somebody else. But if there's no major party where you can have a legitimate shot at winning, suddenly that gets
right. And if it's your own party that sabotages you,
right? They got stabbed in the back. Like, that's got to be the feeling for these people. That's where I put him in this guy especially, because when you look at him, and his history, he's vocal, he's out there, he's active, he's obviously very emotionally invested in all this, but he doesn't seem to have lost hope until the betrayal, and then it's getting fermented. There's no release for him.
It was just brewing and steaming and simmering
and then he's probably pinning all his hopes on Comey to destroy the Trump administration and hopefully take down Pence with him, because they're all sitting there dreaming that the whole Flynn case is going to blow up on both of them. And they can get rid of both of them in the same case. And that didn't really happen. We're all still kind of waiting, like, does anyone actually have anything? And that might have been the tick over for him to be like, nope, I gotta go to take care of this myself.
Yeah.
And he just, that final break from reality.
The one thing that I was actually appreciative, and that's obviously not the greatest word, but even temporarily, our politicians were civil to one another. It was like, okay, attacking on one of us, attacking all of us, this is not, but, and Bernie obviously saying, I don't condone this. Well, you need, there needs to be more of that calling out, on the left of, this stuff needs to stop.
There needs to be more saying, hey, there needs to be basically more saying, hey, not cool, as opposed to resist. Like, didn't Hillary Clinton say that on Snapchat of all fucking things?
Probably.
Yeah. So that's the thing. There's context to all of those scenarios, and the right gets caught in it too. And a lot of people keep trying to bring up what's his name, the musician, my brain fog.
Ted Nugent.
Yes, Ted Nugent.
I was gonna say that, but as a joke, because I didn't know you were.
No, he's not been a good representative, in that aspect that Lex is mentioning.
He was the right's Kathy Griffin for years in a very direct manner, and that didn't lead to anything. There wasn't any serious desire on the right to kill Obama, because everyone rightfully realizes you kill people, they generally become martyrs. They don't, that doesn't work for your ideals.
And to Ted's credit, he did say after this that he was going to start toning it back. Now, it's easy to say when you got your guy,
Mm-hmm.
in the power position, So let's see what happens. In however many years, should someone get voted that he's not a fan of, but everyone really should be. We can all talk about how much we dislike somebody without wishing harm on them.
Yeah. Well, the big thing, this is so much different than the Giffords shooting because it's obvious this guy was at one point a very functional member of society who he was not somebody off his meds. He was not somebody who had definitive mental issues that we can trace back and be like, oh, well, if he had a better caregiver. It's like, no, this was a normal dude. This was an American dude and active in politics who got radicalized.
Just the guy who all of a sudden snapped.
Yeah, and we haven't really had anyone like that since. I mean, maybe they is the last.
What happens when one social democrat is pushed too far? Someone could shut. I don't know. I want to try to make a joke about it.
You don't even know what to say about it. There's no good out of this because it's just this guy who obviously cared about his country and tried to do things the right way, and in the end, lost it and lost all perspective on the issue. Where he thought it was a good idea to go out and try to kill members of Congress because that would have somehow solved anything.
Oh God! I'm just looking into chat right now, and Mark, who is not with us because it's his birthday. He quoted Justin Trudeau, "If you kill your enemies, they win."
Gah! Fuck.
That's your spirit animal, Ryan.
Man.
Justin Trudeau. I know you. I know you look up to him. I know he's your guy.
Most powerful nation in the world, as said by some fucking idiot.
Whenever I hear the name of Justin Trudeau, I just think
Justin from Canada.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Good.
He
is a cuck. Come on.
Yeah. I remember actually, I think it was a Vice article that said the left, people are starting to worry about extremism on the left. I'm like, starting to. Wow.
Yeah. and people some weird people come on.
Yeah. What's wrong with Antifa, guys? It's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Wednesday was a horrible day, and not only the shooting, but then we had in London the Grenfell Tower fire.
Yeah.
Which at this point, I believe we are at 58 people dead. It looks like there's a report out just here today saying that they may have used banned siding in the renovation, which helped essentially escalate or how quickly the fire would spread through the building. As people said, they have never seen a fire advance so quickly.
So, Stan, what you're saying is that we shouldn't have been singing about London Bridge falling down as opposed to the buildings.
Right.
Oh.
And if you were saying that, then that would be a strange coincidence.
I just wanted to try dark humor.
I understand. So this
ring in hell
actually
for me.
has interestingly seemed to be causing more of an uproar in London than the terrorist attacks. In that people are saying, there have been complaints. How come there was not more investigations into the building? It seems that London is now carrying out urgent inspections of 2,500 similar tower blocks, which I don't know how quickly you can urgently inspect 2,500 buildings. But this was obviously a horrible thing, and I don't know. I mean, would inspections have even necessarily helped this? I mean, when it comes to buildings, a lot of times it's whoever can do it the cheapest.
Yeah,
you get the contract.
Well, if they had inspected the building and said, "Hey, listen, you got to replace all this siding," what I mean, if the costs were too high, wouldn't they just end up condemning the thing or
The
something?
thing is, the siding was new in a renovation. So it wasn't that the siding was existing. The siding was used in the renovation.
Mm.
So, I mean, well, that's the thing. And if on a project of that size, there are permits you have to get, and you have to go through a process whenever you're doing major construction. Same for most of your houses and most municipalities, unless you're out in the county. But you're going to have people who come out and sign off on the final inspection and sign off on interim inspections on things like that. And they're supposed to check these things. Now, if London's getting lax about that, then...
Well, I
then
mean, the
there's-
mayor isn't exactly... He's not, like, strict about Islamic terrorism and the migrant stuff, so...
So, I think those are two very different issues, because one is...
I don't know,
So-
I'm just...
There's an inherent want to push back against bureaucracy, and it surprises me that a city that veers so far left has this issue of apparently rundown affordable housing. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that exists, but I can't imagine how this scenario comes to be in an American city. Because it is simply not feasible that somebody could even get the work done. Projects of that scale would require too much government oversight, and somebody would literally be brought up on charges right now of 58 charges of manslaughter in the U.S. And I expect the same will probably happen in the UK, actually. There's going to be some government official who signed off on something and did something so wrong, he is going to go to prison for the rest of his life. So I feel bad for that guy, but not that bad. And the builder who did it, he'll probably be financially destitute for the rest of his life, the general contractor.
If he's not also charged with some sort of involuntary or some sort of manslaughter,
right?
And using this stuff contributed to the deaths of people.
Yeah, if he knowingly used the wrong materials, then he would be just as culpable. The other part of it is that maybe the stuff was mislabeled. I know there was a situation with Chinese drywall 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8 now, where it used incorrect materials and was incorrectly labeled and imported into the U.S., and it caused a big mold problem because the stuff would just absorb water like it was its job, which is the opposite of what drywall is supposed to do. And it's really hard to tell if you have it or not because it's all labeled as properly certified. So you just kind of know, was drywall put in between 2004 and 2007? Watch it for dampness, and if it gets mushy, you got to take everything out. And if it's one of those scenarios, well, then now we have a serious issue, and that is a really big possibility. And obviously, we won't know until the investigation concludes. But I have no doubt, there's nobody who's going to stand in the way of this. Let's put it that way.
I agree. Yeah, I can't imagine if anyone would. I mean, that would. I mean, this was, and looking at it, looking at the article, it's something that was called, and I'm not up on building terminology, but it was called cladding. Is what was the piece of material that is being blamed for this, and saying it wasn't in accordance with UK building regulations, and that this type of aluminum cladding with insulation sandwiched between two panels has been blamed for helping to spread flames in major fires previously, including Middle East, Europe, Asia, and the United States. So, clearly this was known as a fire hazard, and somehow it still ended up on the sides of this building. So, so there's going to be heads rolling, and like you said, Lex, I can't imagine anyone that would push back against whatever comes of this. Well, except for whoever the lawyers are that they get to defend them. They will of course plead ignorance or.
Yeah, in these kind of scenarios, at least I can only speak for U.S. law. But when it comes to property construction and permitting and all of the record keeping requirements, failing to have the records or turning them over, then you're just presumed guilty.
Right.
It's in corporate law, you're rarely given the opportunity to be like, I didn't know, or well, you can't prove I did it wrong. Yeah, we can. Something went wrong. You're at fault. Prove you didn't do it wrong, or or you're getting the full book thrown at you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard, and I don't think the UK is any softer on any of that. I can't see any reason why they would be. So, especially with they still have EU law there, and EU regs on materials used in construction and manufacturing is, as we know, much stricter. Right. So, I sincerely hope that justice is brought here. This is one of those few issues where, like, I can have total. I feel really bad about the political spin that's gotten put on it. Like, somehow Theresa May pulling a couple of, like, one-liners from the Labour Party's leadership panel and being like, we're one community, is suddenly politicized. Like, no, this is what politicians say. Like, she hasn't done anything wrong. Shut up.
Right. Yeah, it looks like they were criticizing that she, let's see, what was it here? Failing to meet with the victims.
Right?
Well,
like,
I mean, you know, what
she was also called a coward and a murderer.
I mean, you know, I mean, if this was happening to me, I don't know that I would be like, you know, I'm sitting there in the hospital and be like, oh, great, here's the PM. Boy, that makes me feel a lot much better.
Let's be really clear.
Like, the government officials are the last people I'd want to see.
Yeah. Right, we all saw the people coming out of that building. These were not Tory voters.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They probably do not want to meet with May.
They'd probably spit in her face and be like, get the fuck out of here, you...
Right.
I'm going to stop it. But, yeah.
And it stands totally right. Like, you don't... There's no, like, reason to meet with victims as a head of state. Like, all you're doing is complicating things and making a PR move.
Like, that's all it is. And that's the thing. You know, they're criticizing her for not going. But if she did go, those same people will probably be like, oh, she's just doing lip service to get her face out there. Mm-hmm. So, no. You know, I mean, I did see after the Manchester bombings that, you know, the Queen went and visited some people in the hospital. But this was like, you know, days or even, a week after the fact. Not like, okay, it's been 24 hours, go visit them.
No, the Queen is definitely a very different... She serves a very different role. Like, she is a PR head of state.
She's definitely a figurehead.
Right, and then, like, that's the exact thing you do with figureheads, is you send them to see people in the hospital. You know, maybe you have a camera crew, maybe you don't. She doesn't need the PR. It's not like she runs for office, right? So
exactly.
And then it gets a nice report, and everyone says, the Queen's awesome, you know, for country, and moves on.
I will say it was actually quite sweet, because a lot of the people, of course, it is just, you know, they're going to do the video, you know, they're probably, but a lot of people seem to be like even kids were like, oh, it's the Queen, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, so it did seem to work. But I would think with some people, like you mentioned, I think Theresa May visiting would have an opposite effect. You know, like you mentioned, it'd be like, what the bleep is that bleep doing here? You know, it's
It's nice that you bleeped the expletives out,
because we haven't sworn like 50 fucking times.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, you know, when she walks into the hospital, this would be the appropriate time for your for one of your soundboard moments that are minding.
No,
you know, the German one.
And the moment passed.
Not right now. No,
it's already gone.
It's a tragedy. Come on, I can't use that one.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I think that's more of just, I mean, there's really not much else to discuss on that. We all think it's horrible and hope that something good comes out of it. Something that the next bit of information here is the EU opening up legal cases against Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic for refusing to take in asylum seekers. This seems to be, and what I find interesting, especially Poland, is Poland seems to be a point of pride for them that they are, and I can't blame them.
Not just for Poland, for Hungary as well. I don't know about the Czech Republic. I think it's similar, but not to the same extent. But Hungary and Poland, they're like, it was the right thing to do. We can see it every day.
Yeah, you're over there, Monty. Maybe give us a little bit of what you know of the rundown.
Yeah, some boots on the ground stuff.
Yeah. Well, the situation right now is that there are the so-called, I think you call them V4 states. In Germany, we call them Visegrad Group, which consists of the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Slovakia. Like the four countries that were the closest to the Iron Curtain from the east side.
The Warsaw Pact,
Uh,
like closest to
yeah.
the. Okay.
Yeah, the closest to the west that were part of the Warsaw Pact.
Okay.
Poland and the Czech Republic are direct neighbor states of Germany. And the Czech Republic and Slovakia used to be one country, the GSSR or CSSR, and Hungary is directly south from that. And they were formed, they existed until I think 1991. They were their own group within the Warsaw Pact, and they kind of regrouped within the last 2 years or so with the migrant crisis. They kind of regrouped and got closer again, and they're really tight. It seems like right now they're trying to establish some kind of opposition to the EU, and I think if the EU will be, and well, they obviously will be tumbling down at some point. The Visegrad Group, the V4, might be the origin of a new kind of union, where you basically can say the sovereignty of the countries will not be touched in any way. We will talk with each other, you know. We will have some councils where we can talk to each other, but there won't be much policy done. And this is the situation right now. Like we're having the Cold War all over again. Not to the same extent. It's not a war. It's more of a.
No one has to worry about fucking ICBMs flying over their house anytime soon.
Not gonna happen. It's more of a cold argument. Let's call it a cold dispute. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous.
I love it. It sounds ridiculous, but it sounds like such a perfect way of describing it.
Yeah, and the thing is, most Eastern European countries, like what is there, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
Yeah.
The Southern European countries like Croatia, Slovenia. Slovakia is a part of the V4. Don't mix them up. And the other ones are Romania, Bulgaria, all of them, Southeast Europe. They will pretty much side with the V4 simply because they also went through the migrant crisis in kind of the same way. They were part of the Balkany route, where all the migrants came in over Turkey and then Bulgaria, some over Greece, through the Balkan region, Hungary, and then either Austria or Slovakia and the Czech Republic to Germany. And they all went through this. They all know what happened back then, and they will side with each other because they know exactly.
They're like, we've had enough of this shit. We're done.
Yeah.
Good for them if that ever.
And the EU will. I say, it's just my own observation. I think the EU, within the next maybe 5 years, you know, politics is slow. Within the next 5 years, the EU will be much smaller than it is right now. All the Eastern European countries will be out.
I've been
sure.
because I've been I've been watching a lot of Sargon the last few weeks, and I remember him saying that he said, I think Brexit is going to be a reason. I'm not sure the sole reason, but a reason why the EU collapses, because won't the other countries just start being like, yeah, let's get the fuck out while we still can, guys.
Yeah, we will have to wait 2 years. That's how long the Brexit negotiations will take.
Okay.
And then we can see like countries suddenly realizing, wait, life can be good without being part of the EU.
Yeah,
That
we don't
is
need to be part of an
possible.
empire.
Yeah, that is
I-
possible.
I have this
People
vision
will-
in my head of if the EU was like some kind of representation of, I don't know, a social thing. I was like, I could see it being a party, but the people who are hosting it don't know how to fucking do a party properly. So it was just like, let's get out of here. Let's take out the back door while they're not looking.
So does it feel like these?
But that's not what gonna happen. Sorry, Stan. That's not what's gonna happen. You will have some countries that are like, "Fuck this shit, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
Like openly and not like take the back door, but flipping the finger, going, you know what? We don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. We are out. Like Great Britain did. I mean, that wasn't the biggest middle finger, but it was a 52% middle finger.
So, but in that, isn't there some risk that at some point Germany especially will reverse course? And because Merkel's already done it, become a lot more tepid about her full immigration support and the burkini ban and like all of that kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, isn't it possible that, especially after she leaves office, because this is probably going to be her last term anyways, like who steps in and is really so strong about all of this that they're willing to press the issue and they don't just renegotiate some increased sovereignty and try to bide their time? Because if the EU trudges along for another 20 years, I think they'll have a generation that will be another generation that will be so indoctrinated into the idea of free travel across Europe that they will be willing to sacrifice more of their sovereignty, and they will get an EU military in that course. There will be a disaster that allows them to justify it.
It depends on who will be Angela Merkel's successor. And I don't have a good feeling about this because, if anything, Angela Merkel knows how to work with power, how to deal with power, and how to give it along to the next person. She learned it from. We will talk about this in a few minutes. From former German Chancellor Helmut Kohl, who died a few days ago, and he always called her his girl. Like, there was no relation, like she was not his daughter or something, but there was like a relationship, like almost like a stepfather stepdaughter relationship. And where the fuck am I seeing you, Doctor?
Sorry, I'm grabbing toys so I can go.
Walking through your apartment.
I'm at my house.
Oh, your house. Oh, I'm sorry.
I still live at home. I'm trying to save up to get out of here at some point.
Okay. Anyway, he used to call her his girl, and it was like a stepfather stepdaughter relationship. And it's
minding.
It's weird. He knew how to deal with power, and he taught her. So she will choose. She will handpick who her successor will be, and well, it definitely won't be someone who's actually conservative. I think.
Yeah. Why would she do that? She wants to destroy the
exactly.
country.
Exactly. She would like completely destroy her own fucked up legacy.
I mean, I agree that that'll be her desire, but I think there is. It seems like it would be a really rash decision for a group of politicians who have spent so long sort of babying along this project. I mean, it's been 45 years in the making to get the United States of Europe ostensibly established, and now they're seeing the first beam being pulled out of it from a latecomer in the UK, granted, but how are they going to hold up when they don't have? I mean, they can't just subsist on Muslim migrants, right? They need the Polish bloc basically to be immigrating in and be that low class labor force that they kind of desire. I don't see how they could see this as a short-term victory if they start having both the UK with the financial centers gone and having the Polish and Hungarian bloc saying no, kiss my ass.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I was born and raised in East Germany, in Brandenburg, which is like basically around Berlin, like 80 kilometers away. So I was pretty close to the German-Polish border. And I witnessed firsthand what happens each spring. Like the Polish workers coming over for the damn, I'm looking for a word again. For the harvesting.
Harvest sounds like it might be.
Yeah, for the asparagus harvest.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's a big.
I see fields. Fields of asparagus. That sounds
You're
great.
absolutely right.
Glorious
Whenever you
fields
see-
of asparagus.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
to Germany where we
that's
have.
Oh, you know what?
That
That
is-
just,
no,
you know what? That
that's-
just
guys.
Germans created projects that you can gas people with. Way to go, Germans.
Come on.
That's great.
Boy,
Back to the gas.
that escalated quickly.
Yes, it did.
I mean, that
Yeah.
really got out of hand fast.
I think that one was just fitting right now. No, the thing is that just happens in Brandenburg, not all of Germany. That's just like the.
I don't believe you. I think it's
border-
all over the fucking place.
No, it's not. It's in Brandenburg. It is basically all over the place. Like I was raised in a village that's like, I don't know, 20 kilometers away from like huge asparagus fields. And every spring you would have hundreds and thousands of Polish workers coming over to work those fields and to harvest the asparagus.
Why is this so funny to me?
We even have a name for this. Asparagus season is a big thing in Brandenburg.
You're German. You guys have a word for everything.
Yeah.
You can just make up words at the drop of a hat. So it's like that saying you have a word for it. This isn't like where Eskimos have 33 different words for snow. This is just part of your language.
That is true. But if Poland really is to drop out of the EU, the first ones who will experience the
asparagus
disadvantages
farmers?
of this. Shut up. The people who will experience the disadvantages firsthand will be the people in Brandenburg and Berlin. Because the first thing that will happen is the asparagus prices are going to spike big time.
So that's the thing, though, and this all depends on how hardline Merkel wants to be about Brexit, right? And this is why everyone cares. Like, honestly, I don't think anyone really sees any issue with the UK being separate from the EU. They've had a separate currency the entire time. They have had a separate economy, ostensibly. Literally, all they have to do is have a free trade agreement, and functionally nothing changes, right? Economically, at least. But if the EU lets the UK walk away with a really good deal, obviously other countries are going to want the same deal when they leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can hardline the UK and make it really tough on them, then they get that thing where nobody wants to leave and face the same repercussions, because the UK can suffer them way better than Poland, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, what I expect is, I mean, basically, I think the EU is screwed either way. If they give the UK a really hard deal, if there will be the hard Brexit, and the EU is like, okay, we're going to give you the hard Brexit, we're not going to give you anything, no free trade agreement, nothing, I think the UK will still be better off. And that's when people will start to realize we don't need the EU, we don't even need free trade. And that's where I'm worried. I wish there would be like, okay, we let you leave, You voted on that. We let you leave. But let's please have at least a free trade agreement.
See,
And
that's the thing.
that's
I don't
that's
know
when
if a free
people
trade
think-
agreement is even needed because they still have WTO trade regs to fall back on, right? So it's not like trade stops; it just gets as much as a 2.5% tariff. And
Yeah, that will have an economical impact, but again, not as much that the EU that the UK will start to suffer and be off worse.
exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. There is no.
It will have an economic impact. You know.
But that's the thing is if it's in the midterm, the short and midterm, where the UK looks weaker. The UK is one of those countries. I mean, London is a financial hub of the world. They have, very good connections to Hong Kong, China, the US, Mexico, Latin America.
I'm sorry, did you say China?
Yes.
China.
There it is.
But if
Go without a little Trump.
so, the UK can be like, yeah, even if Europe fell off the face of the earth, economically for them, it's a hit. Something like 20% hit, but it's not the end of the world. And obviously they can make up those losses with other partners. But for someone like Poland or Hungary, I feel like that's going to be a much harder situation, especially with Trump coming forward with, pressing for sanctions on Russia, which would be another huge trading partner for those countries, especially. I just can't imagine that being a good scenario for them, and I could very easily see the EU trying to make Brexit very difficult for the UK in the 2-year negotiation period and very shortly after that, just to teach a lesson and make sure that these other smaller, I guess we'll call them the greater German economic states, don't want to defect right behind it.
The greater German economic states.
I mean, isn't that what the EU is going to become? If it's going to be Germany, it's satellite countries, and then France. That is, and then the hangers on of France.
No, France basically will be a satellite country in terms of economy.
Oh no! It's going to
be.
It'll be Germany. Its economic satellite countries and the wine drinkers. Greece, Italy, Spain, and France.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, the idea that was part of this whole history, the post World War II European history, there was an idea of the so-called Guldenmark, which was a early version of the euro, like a currency. That basically was made up of the gulden, which was the currency of the Netherlands, and the mark, which was the currency of Germany. And the idea was to also include Austria. Well, Switzerland, you will never get them in there; they're always neutral. But maybe Denmark or so, and that was basically it. Not even France, not Spain, none of the others. Just Germany, Austria, Netherlands, and Denmark. And that was an idea because those countries could form some kind of currency union, some kind of economic union without a problem because their economies, even though different in size and proportion, are equally in terms of, or very similar at least, in terms of, let's say, work ethic, laws, and so on. Like you could make this work very easily. But if you include France and Italy and Spain, where the work ethic is completely different, French are like, nah, not today. I'm not gonna go to work.
I remember when I was in Italy, they would take. It was the weirdest fucking thing because I went into this one dude's shop and I think it was probably 11:30 in the morning. It wasn't like it was almost end of the day. And they were just we're closed. I'm like, oh, all right.
Probably
really?
Spain.
Huh?
Probably Spain. In Spain, they have the so-called siesta.
Yeah,
They're taking off 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. Midday, around noon, 2 hours. No, we're closed. We're going to have a sleep. Everywhere in Spain, and that's the work ethic in those countries, and they're highly centralized, unlike Germany, which wouldn't believe if you heard it from someone else. Germany is highly decentralized. Like Berlin is too far to the east to have like a centralized country. Paris is so in the middle. Madrid is so in the middle of the country. Rome is so in the middle. Of course, it's centralized, and then you have like the countries Germany, Denmark, Netherlands, and Austria. That would work, and I think that's an idea that you might or that one might pursue, that Europe might pursue in the future. But let's get back to reality. I think the EU will tumble unless they will, or unless they're able to fix the peripheral, is that the right term? The outside borders.
Peripheral?
There you go.
The outside borders
Yeah.
of the EU. If they are not able to fix those, if they're not able to, basically, you could say build a great wall. Well, not necessarily a wall, a coastal guard, and all of that. It's mostly water around Europe. So, but if they're not able to fix those borders, those outside borders, the EU will tumble.
So
That's my expectation.
Do you think that is possible, that they will Americanize immigration across the EU, where it's really hard to get into the EU, but once you're in, you still have freedom of movement?
It doesn't look like it. The system is completely unorganized. Basically, what it says right now is every country that has an outside border has to pay for it itself.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, not sustainable.
Well, this is the thing. It's not a matter of having a physical border wall, because you can control immigration without a wall. You just have to be willing to actually deport people and not give them subsidies and give them refugee status by claiming their children when they're 20 years old. These are really simple tactics the EU could take as a whole and be like, no, sorry guys, we're all full up. Unless because there is no country that the EU literally has to take refugees from. They're not compelled by international treaty to take any of these. They can send them to some other country that borders Syria. But I have to feel like they are getting to the point where they have to acquiesce somewhat to the request. They are losing the UK. They are risking losing a very large low cost labor force that they brought in specifically to be a low cost labor force.
Yeah.
They are not going to be able to comfortably replace it with immigration.
Exactly. I think it could be manageable, but I don't think the EU will pull it off. Like the thing is, in all of Europe, you have this tendency that they're going, we want to centralize this, centralize that. Even in Germany, unbelievably, education should be centralized. A lot of people call for it in Germany. It's not right now. It's a matter of the states, and there are calls that education should be on the federal level. And this centralization shtick basically runs through all of Europe, and it won't end. And if there ever will be the United States of Europe, which I think will never happen, but if there are, Europe will become a centralized dictatorship, basically.
Yeah.
And we can actually talk about the U.S. taking in refugees from Europe, like actual refugees, not the refugees we're taking in right now, like actual ones.
Or as we will probably call it, immigration.
No.
I think
you really have to flee from here if the United States of Europe ever become a thing.
Yeah. I see in my mind like we wouldn't look at them as refugees. We'd be like, yeah, we don't know why the fuck you were over there for so long anyway. It sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, I think we have a lot more topics to talk about, right? Stan?
Yeah. Well, we seem to have quite a few German topics to talk about here tonight.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned it, we might as well translate into it, and you can give us a little bit about Chancellor Helmut Kohl. Forgive me if I
It's okay.
brutalize that, but I guess what was his. I mean, obviously, a leader dying. I guess in Germany, what was his? How was he perceived?
That's very difficult because he was a pretty controversial figure. Basically, in terms of his actual policy and his politics, he was a very respected politician, a very respected chancellor. I think the most respected of all the chancellors that were living, or that still are that are still living, and him, of course. And the only problem was that he was involved in some kind of a donation affair. Let's call it donation scandal within his own party. Where there were like donations to the party running through a through an unnamed account in Switzerland. Of course, in Switzerland.
Of all fucking countries, it would be Switzerland, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean they're neutral for anything, but they always take your money if you want to. That's Switzerland, basically. It's like what
they have the biggest blind eye that they can turn. I swear.
Yeah. Does the U.S. have like an island for avoiding taxes?
Sort
Puerto
of.
Rico, maybe?
No, Puerto Rico actually has really strict financial rules, but Bermuda is where a lot of-
Okay, Bermuda. Okay, we'll take this one. The Switzerland is basically the Bermuda of Europe.
Cayman Islands.
Like
is also big.
you go there to put the money aside that you don't want your government to find out about.
So that's the thing. We don't actually have. There's really no place you can hide in the U.S.
Yeah.
at this point because even
Oh,
Switzerland,
okay.
even Switzerland will now turn over financial records to the U.S. State
Yeah,
Department.
and to Europe, to other European countries as well.
Yeah.
But for most of the time, it was the country to go to.
Mm-hmm. At 9/11 fixed all of that. That was for all the crazy conspiracy theorists out there, like that is the one thing I give them for being correct on. If it was an inside job, it was wonderfully executed, but it wasn't done by the Bushes. It was done by people that wanted access to Swiss bank accounts and stuff in the Cayman Islands, because all of those banks literally had no argument when somebody said, well, we're going to help catch terrorists. They basically had to say, yo, I guess we have to help you out.
Yeah. But yeah, he was like Helmut Kohl was responsible for, basically he was responsible for the fall of the wall, the end of the Cold War, together with George H.W. Bush. Margaret Thatcher was a bit hesitating at the time, unfortunately, but basically the three architects were H.W. Kohl and Gorbachev, right? Yeah, Gorbachev.
Gorbachev was the
Those
one
were-
with the spot on his head, right?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Those were the three architects of the end of the Cold War, and that was his biggest legacy, and he was well respected for it. But again, this donation, party donation scandal, really, a lot of Germans really took issue with that, and more than I think more than they should have. Like you can, at the end of someone's career, you can like watch. You can look over that. You can be like, nah, yeah, that happened. It was shit, but come on, he ended the Cold War. You know, that's like a bigger accomplishment than some kind of donation scam. It wasn't much money. We're talking about a few million marks back then. Well, it's something, but it's not much. Come on. So, man. Yeah, he was
with the
controversial.
euro now. I literally have no idea what that conversion is. That could be like $5.
Basically, the conversion of euro to mark was that 1 euro basically equals 2 marks.
Okay, so that was.
That's
I mean, it was a
that's what
sizable
we're
chunk
always
of money,
calculating with.
but not anything horrible.
Not really, no. But it appeared during his time as party leader of the Christian Democrats, and yeah, it stuck with him ever since.
Blah.
But he was basically he was a conservative. He said something along the lines of this party, the Christian Democrats, this party will never stand left to the middle or left to the center as long as I'm its leader.
Oh, well.
Yeah, he no longer was the leader when it turned to the left with Merkel. So he was right for his time, but
yeah,
he chose the wrong successor.
Yeah, it's a different world than it was.
Win some, lose some.
Well, I think we're gonna wind it down here. I do want to end it on one fun note for Ryan, who generally has gotten off fairly unscathed today. Ryan, I just want to let you know, if your parents don't accept your gender identity, the government can intervene on your behalf. So I just want you to know that Canada has that provision for you. So you, my friend, are always protected. And I just... It's one of the most ridiculous laws I've ever heard in my life.
What is it called? Like Bill 89 or some shit like that?
86, I think. Right?
86.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think so. Maybe it's 89. I don't really know.
It's one of those fucking numbers. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
That'll be fine until some, very liberal couple has their child taken away because he or she does not want to identify as what their parents want them to. So,
you know what's that gonna sound like?
And with our screeching Berkeley girl, we thank you all for tuning in today. Please check out all of our links below. If you like the show, give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Give us a comment if you'd like to see anything change. If you have some additional sound bites or screeching you would like Minding to add to our soundboard.
Oh yeah,
send us a lot of
please send them to me on Twitter. The link is in the description, please.
Links in the description. And thank you all. I hope I did all right sitting in for our illustrious leader Mark, and he will be back next week. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day. Beauty and the Beta is up in about 25 minutes, so please go check them out.
Later.